Hello, it's Father Alan at St John's Church. May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Sadly, you couldn't come to the church for your Easter service this year because we were already into lockdown. So I thought I would make a small video for you to remind you that the church is here, what it looks like, and indeed what I look like too. So here we are in St John's Church. I'm going to do something special today. You know this part of the building because it's where we hold our services. But there are other interesting places, and I would like to show you one of them today. Up behind the organ is our belfry, and up at the top of the belfry are our clocks that you will have seen from outside. Below that, right behind where the organ is, are our bells, and we have 3 bells here that ring every quarter of an hour to tell the time. They ring out then the number of chimes on the hour to say what time o'clock it is. But we also use the bells for other things. They ring before every service that is held in the church. And I'm continuing to say the services here in church. I'm not allowed to have any congregation here at all during lockdown. But in order that people know that the services are still taking place and that I'm praying for the people of Bethnal Green, the bells ring to let people know that those services are starting. We also ring the bells at special times. We will ring them to celebrate a wedding. We will ring them to mourn someone who's died. We will ring them at times of celebration, and we will ring them at times of remembrance. So I rang them the other week on VE Day to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. So we're going to go and have a look at those bells now and maybe hear what they sound like. Come with me. Here we are in the entrance of the church. Here is our sculptor of the proconsul, bit frightening chap. One day I'll tell you all about him as well, but we're now going up this staircase all the way up to there into the belfry. We need to do quite a lot of restoration work on this part of the church. It's quite safe, but it looks very run down indeed. Now here we're coming to the first part of the belfry, which is called the ringing room. It's a bit dark. Fortunately, there is a light. So here we are. When the bells were put up here, and they're up this ladder here, into the next space up there, there was no electricity, and so the bells worked on ropes. So there are 2 of the ropes. You can see the colour of the handles there. And the third one is over here. And bell ringers still come to ring them. Here are the Hackney bell ringers. These days the clock is controlled electronically, so that this will monitor the time and ring the bells automatically through an electrical connection to them up through the floor of the belfry there. So we're going to go up and have a look at them. I'm a bit worried going up this ladder. I wonder if I've got too fat to get through that opening. We will see. Whew, what a squeeze that was. But here we are in the belfry itself. And here is our first bell, and then behind it Over here is the second one, and next to that over here is the third one, and they're hung on these big wheels, each of them on a wheel, and then there is the rope that goes down to the bow rope below, so that if they are connected, people pulling them then start a motion and the bows ring, and will start then the clapper on the inside of the bow ringing against them when they get enough motion into them. There, stop that happening. And this one here, you will see it's all inscribed. The bells were put in here in 1871. Church itself was built in 1826 to 1828. But in 1870 the roof burnt off, and I think the bells that they had hung originally were destroyed in that fire. When the church reopened in 1871, these bells were put in to celebrate that the church had been rebuilt and was open once again. And it has this inscription about that whole history. It talks about the fire in the church which happened on 16th of February 1870, and then in March 1871 it was reopened, and here are the church wardens, the district warden, the architect and surveyor and the vicar, all listed on the bell. And it must have been a great celebration back then in 1871 when it reopened. The bells were made, to make a bell is to cast it. The molten metal is poured into a mould, and then when it cools is broken off, and the bell then emerges out of it. They were made in the Whitechapel Bell Foundry, which has been in Whitechapel until 2017, when sadly it closed. And here are the names of the people who ran that foundry back then. Mears and Steinbank. They're all inscribed. That history is all here on those bells. Go further up, another ladder through that trapdoor to see the clock. So here we are. We've come up this ladder here, and we're now behind the 4 clock faces in the tower. And the way they work is that there is a small motor here that moves then this cog here right at the bottom once a minute, and every time that that moves, then of course these 4 cogs, they move, and that turns this rod, which turns here with this counterweight you can see over there, to balance them off so that they remain completely turning at the same time. And then onto these 2 cogs, which control the minute and the hour hand. And so when a minute happens, you will see them move. Let's hope we don't have to wait long. There we go, very slight movement indeed. So it's coming up towards the hour now. We get ready to hear the bells ring at very close range. It's going to be quite loud. The way it works is that each of the bells has one of these clappers which will move very gently, as it happens, onto the bell, but it produces an enormous noise. So there's that one there, and that one over there. And this is the first one. Go ding, dong, it will go. And we'll do that 4 times, and then we will hear the hour from this clapper down here. So, time to get ready. Let's come over here and we can see that one go first of all. Whoa, loud. I recorded everything else about our bells this afternoon, so we could have bells telling the time and bells telling people that there's a service on at church. I've come back now just before 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening, so we can ring the bells again. As you know, at 8 o'clock every Thursday, we clap, bang cans, play musical instruments to celebrate all our health workers in the NHS and those who are working. So now comes the hour first of all, as the bells prepare to strike the hour. And then we will play our celebration for our health workers. Here we go.